Sam was a millionaire who made his money selling shoes in Brooklyn. So he didn't have what's called self-esteem. I learned in my travels that a lot of these rich people didn't have self-esteem. Ego is not the same as self-esteem. So when they came on board, now Sam didn't know about protocol, but when they came on board, Sam didn't know how to seat us at lunch. We were about 8 people. So what did he do? But he started to scream. And Prince Rainier said, don't worry, I'll sit next to Carole. So he sat next to me, whereupon I said, well, what sign are you? And he said, well, I'm a Gemini. And I said, not only am I a Capricorn, but I'm from Philadelphia too. Whereupon Princess Grace laughed and said, so am I. I said, I know. I said, but I used to teach in Lower Marion. She said, I'm from there, near there. I said, oh my. And then she said, Sam, I'm glad to see you have some quality guests on your boat instead of this Hollywood riffraff. So that felt very good. And then after lunch, we went up and I did push-ups at their feet. And anybody speak French? Bad French? A little bit of French? There's a saying, je suis mal élevé, which means from heritage, I'm badly raised. In other words, your lineage it's a little off. So as I went and did my push-up, I fell on my face and I said, je suis mal élevé, and they laughed because it had nothing to do with a push-up, you see. So how did I get from suburban Philadelphia to meet Princess Grace? Well, I was raised in Springfield, Delaware County. I was born in Havertown, and when I was in 7th grade, maybe some of you heard this, my father came down with a mysterious twitch, and we didn't know what it was. So 2 years later, a doctor said, well, I'm going to try an operation. It's called a lobotomy, and we'll see what it is. And they gave him a lobotomy. He didn't need it. During the operation, they found out he had Parkinson's and said they made a mistake. Now, my father was my hero. He was blue blood, and his one uncle was a statue in Philadelphia called General Lou Wagner, who fought in the Civil War. And I wanted to be really my father. I called him my favorite daddy. And he loved books. And my mother was Pennsylvania Dutch from Shoemakersville, PA, and a farmer. And she thought books were dust catchers, so I became a writer. My father was everything to me. So when he had the lobotomy, he changed. They damaged his brain, but he wasn't mentally ill, really. He laughed still at my jokes, but they put him in an asylum because they worried about the effect he might have on me. He would weave things for me, and I would take them home, and finally they let him out. But my whole life became one of rescuing men, trying to take care of them. And just like I like speaking to you, I like helping people. And it was very sad. So my whole life was about running away after that, running away from home, getting as far away as I could. So I went to Penn State. I worked my way through college, and he liked mint chocolate chip ice cream, and I worked at Howard Johnson's, and I used to steal it for him. That was his favorite. So I went to Penn State, and there I met number 3. Here's Dick Hoke. He was a football player, and we became engaged, and I had trouble talking to him, though. We were together for about 4 years, and then he became a coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, at first he played for them, and then a coach, and he was going to get $10,000 in 1963, I think, to have his legs broken, and now they pay millions. But then we thought this was going to be the be-all and end-all. I was going to have a 2-car garage, 2 cars, a house, everything you think you want. But what happened was I came back to Philadelphia and was teaching a little while Dick was coaching, and I thought there has to be more to life than this. I remember when Kennedy died, it was 63, I was teaching. Do you remember that? I was teaching school then. So I thought, you know, I was bored with Dick. I couldn't talk to him anymore. He was a history major. So I thought I have to get away. Now, if I were a man or a guy, I'd be in the Marines. Okay, I'd run away. But I couldn't do that. So what did I do? thought, I'll become a stewardess. So I applied for TWA. Well, they said no to me, but I don't listen to no. So I went to Pan Am, and they said yes, and I became a stewardess for Pan Am. And my first flight was to Bermuda, and I threw up when we landed, and I thought, well, at least I'm not in Philadelphia. This was good to be out of Philadelphia. But now I'm happy to be back. But then I wanted to see the world. I had to see the world. So for 2 years I flew, throwing up all over the place. Here's what I weighed, 108, and from being airsick. So I went on a leave of absence and started modeling in Paris. This was my first job in Paris. And I thought, well, if I don't work in 2 months, then I'll go back to flying. But I did work, and then I went off back to New York, and Eileen Ford signed me. And I thought, oh, whoop-de-doo, great, the big agency. And after 2 months, she fired me. I thought, what? This isn't right. So I went, remember, don't give up, that's my motto. I went off to another agency called Stewart, and I went on to be a supermodel, and I did all these covers, Cosmo, New York, Parade, whatever. So my message is don't give up. So now I'm married to Ron Mallory. I had met him at a party the stewardess had given. But that marriage was getting boring. And I'm at a discotheque now. Princess, remember Diane Furstenberg? Well, she was giving a party at a discotheque. And